Hi, guys. Welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's August 29th. Hard to believe. End of summer is coming. But, of course, I'm here with my co-host, Elijah Weintraub. Eli, how's your week?
Good morning, Jim. It was a great week. We have great weather today and another great show ahead. And as you could tell, we're mourning the loss of St. Joe's because we're both in black. So this is, as you could tell, a sad morning for the two of us. Even though
I
I'm not a St. Joe's guy, I'm a St. Mary's guy, but I'm doing it for Jim.
uh, I'll get to that. But, of course, we always start our show with the monologue, which belongs to Eli and sponsored by Coriano Trucking. And just a little note from our sponsor. Happy belated birthday to Guy.
Happy
And
birthday.
by the way, he got a hole in one on his birthday
All
playing golf.
right.
How
Good
cool
for
is that?
him. Congratulations to him.
You bet. Take us away, Eli.
And a good joke to start our show and a good happy birthday to Guy. All right, well, this monologue is all about the NFL eliminating their Pro Bowl games. It was a decision waiting to happen, and it finally did. It was a smart decision. We all completely agreed with the decision. When it was first created, it actually meant something. Now it really means nothing. Heck, they transitioned to flag football. That's how much they gave up on the actual football fact. The NHL and MLB always had the best All-Star games, and we know that right from this day. When the NHL tried moving to four nations, worked out perfectly. MLB, when they have the home run derby and all these other All-Stars, it meant something. It still is something. The NBA and NFL always had those. It's an All-Star game, but it could be a little bit better. The NFL tried to come up with solutions, but it completely failed. For football fans, I think this is a great win, and now we can jump right into the Super Bowl without any distractions. Now there's a couple things we also need to talk about first in terms of this. For those wondering, how does this affect ESPN's TV rights deal since the Pro Bowl games used to belong to them? And according to ESPN, they are not receiving an extra broadcast game or revised compensation as the NFL has already claimed this event as a minor program rather than a core part to its current package. So, in other words, it wasn't a main event like a regular Week 18 football game or Week 12 football game, as an example. It was just like a minor thing that ESPN had, but it could be canceled anytime. It won't affect anything in terms of their packages. So ESPN basically loses out on the game, even though it never had high viewership anyways.
Mhm.
The other thing I'm confused about, though, is the other part of the storyline where it says 88 players will still receive the honor of Pro Bowl honors. I'm still confused by that. And the reason why I'm confused by that is because what does a Pro Bowl honor mean now that there is no game, you don't get a trophy for it, and it's just a title for being great? Shouldn't that be gone too? I mean, after all, this doesn't decide Hall of Fame status or not. Maybe I'm wrong, but to me, though, what does being a Pro Bowl honor mean now that there's no game, there's no trophy or competition to say, okay, out of these 88 players, this one is the best? It's not like that. So, what does being a Pro Bowl honor mean? So, as I leave you guys today with this, Pro Bowl games are out, which is a win. But the question is, does being named a Pro Bowl honor still mean anything?
Well, I do. And first of all, that's a good monologue because the when I was younger and a young kid, we used to watch the Pro Bowl and because we just couldn't get enough of football. But over the course of time, with concussions and things like that coming to the forefront, they try to avoid contact at all costs. And yeah, it was always a reward for the players that made the Pro Bowl. They got their free trip to Hawaii and had a great week and so forth. But as far as what you brought up, Eli, there's going to be 88 Pro Bowl players. I think that still holds credibility. You get the list of each position and the guys that played the best during that course of the season. So I think that still has some validity to it as far as recognition for the players that had outstanding years. There was always this difference, which I could never decipher between what a Pro Bowl was and All Pro. Now, All Pro may have been voted by the players themselves and so forth like that, but I think that still holds some credibility and gives some recognition to the people that played the best at their position during the course of that season.
That makes sense, but isn't that what we have the MVP award? Isn't that what we have individual awards? Like we're naming 88 players at that point. That's right there, an entire team right there. Am I not
Yeah,
wrong? I mean, if we're thinking about it, if that is just like okay, if it's like a participation trophy, then why does it still exist? I'm still confused on that matter. Maybe I'm wrong again, but that's just my opinion. I don't know.
yeah, and that's okay. But like I said, I mean, this is when you get recognized as a Pro Bowl player. That's an acknowledgement that the season you had, and it's got recognized across the fan base, the press, and the players themselves. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, there's the MVP awards and so forth, but those are very few, and there's a lot of positions on the field, and I think it still recognizes the accomplishments of that player for that particular season.
All right. Well, now let's continue in the football category and head into the National Football League and let some talk some there. Uh, well, preseason is going to be wrapping up. This is the final week. Last
Thank
night in the
goodness.
battle of the New York area, or the New Jersey area, I should say, the Giants took the victory, 23-6. For those who are wondering, the Jets are the Jets once again. Some other big notes from the NFL. Deshaun Watson is going to be the starting QB1 for the Browns. That was announced earlier this week,
Mm.
which we'll see how that goes. Cleveland did win, on their preseason matchup. Not like it makes a difference. Seahawks defensive tackle Leonard Williams signs a 3-year, $90 million deal. The Texans send wide receiver Keyshawn Butte to the Texans for safety Jalen Reed and draft picks. And lastly, Giants wide receiver Calvin Austin III is going to be out for the season with an ACL injury. A big loss
Mm.
there for New York.
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, I'm delighted that the preseason is over. I don't watch preseason games. It's nothing more than just an audition for players to make the team. Most of the players that are going to be starting don't play very much. So I'm glad that's over. And by the way, so next weekend, our show, we're going to do our NFL preview show, make our picks for the division,
Absolutely.
so
Cannot wait.
forth, right? But there's a couple other items I had too. I do hear, Geno Smith had a good preseason game 2 weeks ago, and everyone keeps saying that the Jets are much improved, and I look at this and say, what are you guys talking about? I mean, you have a quarterback that's proven to be, let's just say, mediocre at best. Had one great season in Seattle, but he's not going to take the Jets. And the dilemma for the Jets is this: I mean, the more games they win, the less opportunity they're going to have in the draft to get the quarterback of the future. And a lot of people say maybe Cade Klubnik is the answer to that. Well, the answer is we know Geno Smith is not the answer. And I looked at the roster outside of, I just don't see any real improvements at all. They had the running back, Brees Hall. He got injured a little bit, but he'll be back in the season. And the wide receivers, who's the wide receiver for the Jets? Garrett Wilson. These are great players, but overall, the Jet fan is going to be disappointed. Now, conversely, on the Giants side, I think the expectations are extremely high. And I'm wondering, remember, a lot of quarterbacks come into the league, the CJ Strouds and Tyler Shucks. So they had Jason Daniels. They have good freshman years, but that doesn't translate to a great career. And we didn't get a chance to see a lot of Jackson Dart in the beginning of the season until they decided to replace Russell Wilson.
Mhm.
I'm not saying he doesn't have talent, but I think we have to temper the expectations that he's going to be this outstanding franchise quarterback. Remember, he wasn't even projected to be a number one draft pick. The whole scenario with the Giants, yes, they're much improved, and I'll go on record as saying I got to take the hit on Brian Dable. I kind of missed it. I was all on board with Brian Dable, but he did lose control at times of the team. And John Harbaugh is an accomplished head coach, so yes, there's going to be much improvement. I think Abdul Carter and so forth. The Giants' defense is definitely more improved. But, let's be careful about making this a 10 or an 11 win team. And especially we already know that Jackson Dart has a history of kind of little concussion protocol
Yep.
and so forth. So from a New York perspective, yeah, I think you have more reason to be optimistic with the Giants. I think the Jets are going to be the same old Jets. Anyway, I had a couple of notes. So, we talk a lot, Eli, with these Achilles injuries, which are happening more and more frequently. But this was, this story, this George Kittle had an Achilles injury, and he's back after almost 7 months. And, I don't know if this guy is just super tough or, is he coming back too early? Are we getting ahead of ourselves? But he's a tough player, and the San Francisco 49ers certainly need him. So I'm hoping he comes back and stays healthy for that franchise. But this bothered me a little bit. So the Falcons played the Miami Dolphins, and they booed Tua Tagovailoa. Now, I've told you, I haven't always been a big fan of his. I don't think he has the arm strength. Excuse me. But he gave his all in Miami, and he wasn't surrounded by a great cast. So, this always happens. Like when a marquee player gets traded or goes someplace else, they tend to boo that player. But, give me a break. I mean, give this kid a break. And,
yeah, no, I mean, because at the same time too, as Miami Dolphins fans have suffered quite a lot, and we know a lot of the fault was on the quarterback. Uh, you know, I could see essentially why they would boo at the same time too, because they're gonna say, "Oh, he was traded as he was our player," but I don't know. I mean, it's a tough way to look at it. Back to the Giants and Jets. The Giants look a little bit better this year. I got a little bit more faith in them than I do the Jets. The Jets are the same old Jets. I don't see any improvements, and I don't see Geno Smith having another, great breakout year.
yeah. And there's one other thing I wanted to bring up because this is a topic it's mind blowing to me that with some of these rulings and eligibility, now you're having guys that are on NFL rosters or trying to make an NFL team. Now that always meant you gave up your college eligibility, and the rules are now
They
changing a little
changed.
bit. But I think it's just it's out of control. I mean, I don't know how to even wrap my arms around this, and it's going on in college sports as well, in basketball, for example.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
and that's why they just passed the rule. Like, for example, the Big Ten is passed the rule that will not allow players to return to college football from the NFL.
yeah,
So it's these simple rules, and I completely agree with these big the universities and also the conferences of the college football, because if you clear yourself for the NFL. Or if you're in the NFL, you should not have the right to return to college football. Once you leave college and you say, I'm going to the NFL, that is it. That is on you. You made the decision. You took the risk. You took the gamble. You should not be coming back because you thought you were ready when you're not.
and what is driving this is the fact that some of these kids are fighting to get back into college, and this Lane Kiffin. I mean, this guy has no regard for rules at all. I mean, he seems
No,
like
of course
such
not.
a corrupt guy. I hope LSU just tanks under his tutelage. But the fact is, so these kids are getting cut from the NFL rosters, and yet they're going to go back because of all this nil stuff that's going on.
Absolutely.
So they're going to trying to find an avenue to stay in the game to make some money from nil, and I just completely opposed to it. Bottom
Yeah.
line, I would love people to send us emails or comment on it, but it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, let's go ahead and talk about some high school sports because we know the big game last night was St. Joe's.
Yep.
And they took a loss last night, a bad loss on national television on ESPN. Uh, Jim, I know you watched the game from the
I did.
moment the ball touched the air till it stopped touching the air. What were your thoughts on this game? And were you proud? Were you disappointed? Tell us everything from that game.
Well, listen, this was absolutely a great thing for New Jersey football to be on that kind of stage and so
Absolutely.
forth. And, St. Joe's coming off being the defending champs in New Jersey. Right now, I think Don Bosco is preseason ranked, and they won big. But yeah, they had a 30-0 lead, and they lost that lead. And it all started with a fake punt from Mount Carmel, which, by the way, Eli, this is amazing on both sides, St. Joe's and Mount Carmel. There are so many Division I players on these teams. And St. Joe's had a couple of young kids last night. And when I say young kids, these kids were freshmen. They're 14 years old playing against 18-year-old kids in high school. So talent.
My question though is is the St. Joe's not have a strong like building in terms of getting these players? Like that they're starting freshmen in like a big game like that? Because I know
no, not at
I know
all.
like in St. Mary's, for example, freshmen do play because again we have such a small team. But if we have a huge team and stuff, the freshmen are probably not going to play unless they're really really good. That's my
Well, yeah,
that's the question on the coaching, isn't it? I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know how St. Joe's is again. I just know by St. Mary's, but
well, listen, there's no question about it. Well, these are young kids and very, very promising kids. So, whether you're 14 and you have this ability to compete on that level, I think it's great. But on both sides of the ball, these wide receivers from Mount Carmel, they're going to Michigan. And there was a kid who was 6'5", 370 pounds on this team. Just amazing talent on both sides of the ball. But yeah, St. Joe's was kind of starting off because the head coach, Augie Hoffman, was suspended for the first 2 games of the season for infractions or practices that, you're not supposed to have during the off season, whatever that may be. But this was great recognition for New Jersey all in all. Yes, was I disappointed that they blew a 30-point lead and lost? Absolutely. But, they have a linebacker who's the number 2 rated linebacker in high school football. So this puts St. Joe's on the map, along with the Don Boscos and Bergen Catholics playing out-of-state games. I think it's great. Disappointed in the loss, but you know what? They got great exposure, and
that's all that matters. Absolutely.
Yeah, it was just great. It was fun to watch on ESPN. It was a quality production.
Absolutely was.
And the announcers were awesome, by the way.
That's great. Love it.
It was good.
That's awesome. Andrew says, good morning, guys. I know he likes the 9 a.m. start, and we appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And just so a little programming note, over the next 5 or 6 weeks, we may have to alter our Saturday schedule accordingly. We'll fill you in, but for the next 2 weeks, we'll be normal.
We'll be okay for the next weeks. Once we get to middle September, we'll get the changes. Again, we'll be keeping everybody posted when it gets to those changes on our Instagram and our socials, and of course, right here on YouTube. We'll have graphics ready to go and stuff when we get to that point. But for now, we'll be back to 10 a.m. next Saturday, like normal.
We will. And
let's move on and let's talk about some college football in the meantime.
Yeah, but I want to appreciate the note from Andrew, because obviously he's the St. Joe's guy. He was my teammate and so forth. So we were both disappointed in the result. But like I said, from an exposure perspective in New Jersey, a win-win.
All righty. College football, take it away, Jim.
Yeah, well, listen, obviously there's only a handful of games this weekend, and I think one of the key games, or the one that people are anxious to watch, is North Carolina, because of this whole Bill Belichick situation, which hasn't gone well at all. And now, they're going to start this season off. They're playing, let's see, TCU. So, like I said, I don't know if he's going to last the season. The recruiting, they're not getting the players. I guess a lot of people are thinking this is, Bill Belichick was going to come in, and because he was a great NFL coach, does that translate to college? Not necessarily. But there's only a couple other handful of games that are kind of relevant this week. The season really starts to pick up next week, and then 3 weeks from now, we get all the rivalry games that we're expecting. So the games this week, you have USC, which have some high expectations. Malaiva, the quarterback.
USC, yeah. They're
Yeah,
at St. Joe's State. They're playing, yeah.
right. And so he's a potential early Heisman candidate, and
Yep.
Lincoln Riley, is accustomed to winning. So whether they're going to bounce back or not, but NC State, Virginia, that could be a good game, and then New Mexico State, New Mexico versus Florida State. So there are some games in relevance, but things pick up. And Eli, as you pointed out before, college game day is really the only uh, pre-game show that I actually enjoy, and I love that. So
It's
that'll be
expert analysis, and it is one of my favorite pregame shows, besides TNT, of course, and their NBA programming. Well, now it's ESPN, but what I really love about College Game Day now is the whole Pat McAfee kicking challenge. I think that is the best thing to watch on TV now, to see like so much money up for grabs and kids winning a lot of money. That makes me happy every day
yeah.
watching
But the
that.
whole thing with the NFL pre-game stuff, I can't watch that for 2 seconds. So
Fair enough.
can't watch.
All
All
right.
right, Eli. Let's
Let's
move
go to some
on to
Major League
Major League
Baseball.
Baseball. That's
That's
right.
right. Well, the Tampa Bay Rays, top of the American League, and on the National League side, Milwaukee's on top. Yankees falling close second next to Boston at second and third over on the American League side. The Mets are the Mets, third to last. We're not worried too much about them. We're worried about the top teams like the Dodgers, the Braves, the Brewers, the Rays, the Yankees, and the Red Sox, of
Well,
course.
it's kind of funny because in the New York area, when the Mets won like 4 or 5 games in a row a couple of weeks ago, they said, "Oh, the Mets aren't done." Well, I'm here to tell you right now, the
They're
Mets
done.
are done. Okay, so let's
It's
put that
September
out.
already. Let's just be honest. It's September. It's August 29th on the screen, but it's really September.
And I always point back to the fact that Pete Alonso, they let him walk. They could have had him. He was a fan favorite, and look, he's hitting 30 home runs and doing a good job for a mediocre Baltimore team. But that was a big decision for the Mets, and it's going to haunt them for a while.
It will. And one other big story from the Major League Baseball. The MLB has proposed the following changes in the offseason to shorten its free agency to a 2 to 3 week window every offseason. The following says a free agent dead period until the first day of the winter meetings in early December, in which players and teams can negotiate, but no deals can be signed. Trades would be allowed during this period. Free agency would open the Monday the winter meetings begin and would close on December 21st. From December 21st through the first Monday in February, there's no free agent signings or trades that would be allowed. Free agents could sign and trades would be allowed again from the first Monday in February onward. So that's a big change if the NFL and MLB season, because then we won't have anything going on really for those
Yep.
couple of months, as we would say.
Yeah, and a couple other quick notes. I mean, first of all, Jacob DeGrom got his 2,000th career strikeout, so
That's right.
that's kind of a milestone in today's game. That congratulations to him. But Eli, overall, when we look at the American League, the Central and the West, I mean, you want to talk about mediocre baseball. The White Sox are now finally over 500, but the Cleveland Guardians are like 3 games under 500, and they're only 3 games out of first place. So the American League with the Boston Red Sox, and I keep saying this, a remarkable comeback. And I always try to put this into perspective. Back in 1978, it was the famous Bucky Dent home run, but the Yankees were like 14 games out in September. And the fact is, this was an epic collapse on Boston's side, and the Yankees got super hot. The difference between this year with the Boston Red Sox coming from 10 games under 500 to being only 3 games behind the Yankees, that's not attributed to the Yankees collapsing, because they haven't collapsed. It's strictly Boston. What a remarkable turnaround for that team. And like I said, in the American League West, the Astros are 500. And I think I heard that there's never been a division winner that was 500 or less. So, I mean, we're looking at something that's a little unprecedented in Major League Baseball.
Absolutely.
Oh, by the way, So I think the Yankees have officially ruled Giancarlo Stanton out for for the rest of the season, and that puts it in perspective. He's got about 440, maybe 450. So the question is, can he actually get back to a healthy status and try to get to 500 home runs? That remains to be seen. And how we brought this up, one other point I wanted to mention, Eli.
Go for it.
So we keep talking about Hall of Fame and so forth. And one of my friends, Kenny, who's a loyal listener, he brought up the name Gary Sheffield. And so I go back, I look at Gary Sheffield's number. He's got 500 home runs, and yet he's not in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know if it's attributed to the alleged steroids. He's never been, accused of it. But you look at his numbers and some of these other guys like Harold Baines. If Harold Baines got into the Hall of Fame, Gary Sheffield 100% belongs in the Hall of Fame. He was an absolutely very good hitter. And when you put guys like Jeff Kent in and so forth, you have to wonder why these guys are not getting in. And that's my single one guy out of the week. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. All right, Eli.
All right, so we're going to go to the WNBA real quick, and then we'll get to some golf talk. We begin with the WNBA with this. All teams now know who is in and who is out. So here is the playoff teams that are in. We have the Minnesota Lynx, the Golden State Valkyries, Las Vegas Aces, Indiana Fever, Atlanta Dream, Washington Mystics, Dallas Wings, and the New York Liberty. They're all in. Who's out? Portland Fire, Chicago Sky, LA Sparks, Phoenix Mercury, Toronto Tempo, and Connecticut Sun. Those are the teams all out. Now that we know who's in, who's out, at this point now, from now until the end of the season on the 24th, it's a matter of where do these teams fall in line in terms of the standings? Do they stay where they are in their position? Do they move up to like 2 or 3 or down a position? That's where it really all comes down to, and it all depends on who they'll play in the matchups. That's what's going to come down to these next couple weeks. Remember, the season doesn't end until September 24th, and we already know who's in, who's out. So now it's just a waiting game until the playoffs start in the WNBA. So now it's going to be the slower season. Again, not as many TV games on the weekends as much. Like today, there's only one game on CBS, and that's New York, Chicago. So that's something to keep in mind about. There's not as much hype and excitement right now in the WNBA because now everybody's in and now. We just have to wait till the postseason arrives.
Yeah. With the WNBA, though, there's been these other outstanding issues which have kind of overshadowed the accomplishments of some of the players in the WNBA.
Absolutely.
And
it's unfortunate, but hopefully those things will change eventually in the future.
Yeah.
Do you have some golf talk you want to talk about?
Yes, it is the FedEx Cup wrapping up. This is the Tour Championship this weekend. So it's still kind of wide open. I mean, the money is crazy. The winner gets $10 million. So it's still up in the air, but today is moving day, which is always notable on Saturdays at PGA Tour events. Scotty Scheffler is still in the mix, and he battled some kind of an illness the previous week, so I don't know if he's fully recovered, but Cam Young shot a 62 yesterday, so he gets back in the mix. It's wide open, and it's exciting. I enjoy it, but this is the final wrap up for the long PGA Tour season. So good luck to whoever's coming home with $10 million. That's for sure.
Oh, wow, that's a lot of money. Let me tell you, $10 million. Oof.
And Eli, we talked about this week after week. In the NHL, Cale McCarr now signs as the first $20 million a year player, and we've seen this going right. For months, we've talked about it. One of our monologues was the fact that the NHL players weren't getting paid comparable to the other major sports, but they seem to be getting that money now. And when you see a guy like, first it was Celebrini, and he gets the contract, and now it's Cale McCarr. What does that mean for guys like Connor McDavid? And, he's going to have to get more than $20 million if that's right now the mark. But I'm just glad to see that the NHL players are starting to get recognition. on
For what they
comparable,
deserve. Absolutely.
yeah,
No question.
comparable pay. Yeah. Uh,
Alrighty. Well, big move though, and yeah, and happy to see them get paid. That's really all I
yeah,
could say.
me too.
Should we go to some random points?
Yes, but first, before we go to random points, also today, big day in horse racing up at Saratoga. Today's the Travers Stakes. And it's kind of sad on one aspect because when the Travers comes, that means there's only one more week left at Saratoga. And it seems like we were just talking about the season starting. And
Yeah.
like I said, I've been there. It's great. I love it. But there's really great horses in this race. The top three horses, I think, obviously, it was the Kentucky Derby winner and Belmont Stakes winner. Golden Tempo is racing. Renegade is in the mix. So you got to expect those two horses, obviously, to be. But I have been watching a horse called the Puma for the majority of the racing season, and
Puma's been great.
this could be an opportunity for a big upset at the Travers. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think the Puma upsets both Golden Temple and
Ooh, okay.
Renegade. And like I said, it's always sad because I know it's the end of the racing season pretty much. Obviously, the Breeders' Cup will come, but great horses, great jockeys, and another great season at Saratoga Racecourse.
That's awesome. Love to hear it. Now we move on to some random points sponsored by Lynch out of Manchester, Connecticut.
Yep.
You stole most of my notes, but there's still one left that I have to report on. The Monday marks the end of an era on NBC as this is their last syndicated talk show that will come to a close. The Kelly Clarkson Show airs this Monday, and it'll be the last syndicated talk show because we know NBC is getting rid of the syndication brand to its side, into its studios. And the last remaining daytime talk show that was syndicated was the Kelly Clarkson Show, and that's going off the air this Monday. It'll be the last episode. So check your local listings for the time information. For us here in the tri-state area, the finale is at 3 p.m. on NBC4 New York. If you're interested in watching that, it is the last for NBC's daytime talk shows. And Access Hollywood and all that, that's going away in middle of September. So big changes coming to NBC between the next couple of months, and syndicated shows are going away on the NBC side.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen the Kelly Clarkson Show, but I know it had a good run. Probably what, 8 years, maybe 7?
Yeah, 7, 8 years. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. All right, Jim, it's all you. Take it away.
All right. I do have a few random points. So we've talked about some of these these sports that it seems kind of ridiculous at times. Cornhole championships and pickleball and all this other stuff. There is a possibility that there's going to be some sort of robot Olympics. I don't know if you saw it, but some of these robots, one of them broke Usain Bolt's world record for the 100 meters in a race. It's comical. It's funny to see, but there's boxing.
Okay, listen,
I mean, is this where we're really going?
There's a couple of things I have in mind. First off, I don't mind that we're getting like these hacky sacks and things like that as a sport and everything. Again, as long as if humans are doing it, I am not okay with the fact that we're going to have robots in Olympics if it is true. What happened to the fact that we're guaranteed human, or we want Olympics to be about humans and stuff? Shouldn't there be Olympics to be about human stuff? Listen, I don't care if spelling becomes an Olympic sport. That's fine with me, as long as if it's human and not a robot. That's when the line draws, because then everything's turning into robot. Look how many jobs we're losing because of robots and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know.
Stick to human. It's a funny idea, but boy, does that get me frustrated. Stick to human.
I agree. I just thought that's kind of
it was a funny thing though. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Couple other notes. Jerry Cooney, the big Irish fighter back in the 80s who beat Ken Norton. And then he went on and Larry Holmes destroyed him. He was supposed to be the next great white hope kind of thing. He turned 69 years old. It seems not too long ago that I watched those fights.
Long time. Wow.
Yeah. So that's when boxing was boxing, and I enjoyed it. I haven't watched a boxing match in 15 years now. But and we keep talking about sports memorabilia, right? So they were expecting the Diego Maradona, who was, obviously won the World Cup in 1986. They auctioned off the ball, and they didn't have video replay like they do today. And even he admitted that it should have been a handball, shouldn't have counted. But that goes for $3 million. That's getting crazy. Excuse me. And here's another one. A game-worn Michael Jordan from the 1988, I think, 1998 NBA Finals, Game 3. There's potential that somebody is going to pay $100 million for that jersey.
Gosh.
And I would have to go do a little bit more research, but I think that would be the most expensive piece of sports memorabilia ever purchased.
I think so. That might be.
Crazy. And here's a funny thing, Eli. We always talk about people in sports and how they lose their judgment at times. The owner of the San Francisco 49ers, Jed York, was arrested in a prostitution sting in Ohio at some trailer park.
What
are you possibly thinking? And if you don't think that this is ever going to come out, so I mean that's a complete embarrassment for the whole organization. That
organization to the family, like come on,
it really is just something
here.
It's
like you got enough money already. Like we don't. Oh my God! Oh no!
It really is unbelievable. I just with the lack of judgment from people in high positions. This guy is a billionaire. And it's just such a bad look for the NFL. It's such a bad look for the 49ers. And we just never see the end of it. Like, now Josh Jacobs, the starting running back for the Green Bay Packers, he's probably facing suspension for domestic incident.
Yeah, everything.
It's just, what are you guys doing? I mean, can't you stand success? I mean, stay out of the newspaper for anything other than your performance on the field or this York situation. You're the owner of one of the most valuable franchises in the NFL.
That means nothing. That's just like, I don't know. It's like having a little daytime job as an example. That's
I guess, but what a bad look. What a bad look.
Wow. Awful.
Oh, terrible.
Awful.
I think that's good. I'm good on random.
All right. Well, now it's time for What's Your Recommendation and the photo segment. Sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code as soon as I get it up to learn more. My recommendation this week, well, there's actually a couple. First off, tomorrow at 7:30 on ABC, 9 to 5 is on. Of course, the movie 9 to 5, that's on tomorrow, 7:30 on ABC. And then right after that, a 2020 special, Remembering Dolly Parton at 10 o'clock, also on ABC. Of course, we lost a delayed Dolly Parton this week. So check out 9 to 5. Check out the 2020 special. Also, on Tuesday, 9 o'clock on ABC, 9/11, United We Stand, 25 years later. A documentary comes out on ABC 25 years later. Highly recommend watching it as we are near the 25th anniversary of the horrible terrorist attacks here in New York City and also Washington, D.C. and around the world, Pennsylvania as well. Just an awful day. And the documentary comes out Tuesday at 9 o'clock on ABC. Definitely check that out as well.
Yeah, no, that's this. It not possibly was. It was the most incredible attack on our country. That and Pearl Harbor were just, the evil comes out of people and how many lives were destroyed and so forth. So yeah, anytime you could watch something relating to 9/11, it's something that, as an American, you should know more about and feel for those families that were affected. And great call, by the way, on 9 to 5. And I actually went to see that with my mother in the movie theater. And
oh, really?
I loved it back then. And Dabney Coleman was one of my favorite actors back then, but Dolly Parton was in it. And yes, knowing the theme song that she wrote and sang was great. So I completely agree with you. It's an excellent movie to watch, and particularly with her passing this past week.
Absolutely. And your recommendation?
And I do have one. And this came from one of our loyal listeners, Walter Hahn from Arkansas.
Really?
He's a friend of mine, went to school with me, and he sent me a recommendation. There's a show on Netflix called Mind Hunter, and so
Okay.
I checked it out. I'm almost through the first season, and it's a very dark um, topic of behavioral science from the FBI and serial killers or whatnot. But it's an excellent um, program, and I when Walt sent me that thing, and I said, let me check it out if it's good. I love when we get recommendations from
Me
our
too.
listeners, you know.
I
But
love it too.
this one he hit a home run with. It's excellent. It's on Netflix, and it's very very good.
Awesome.
Yep.
All right, let's take a look at some photos.
All right. So back to school week for that's my grandson Logan, who's
That's early going back to school. I didn't even go
yeah
back yet. I go back on Monday.
he's starting. Yeah, I know. And he's starting seventh grade. It's just hard to believe. And there's my darling uh, Hayden, who starts the fourth grade. And Eli, of course, I dug this up out of the archives because of St. Joe's was on national TV last night. Well, that picture, believe it or not, that's me. That's the
I believe
last
it.
time. That's the last time I ever played football. This was Thanksgiving Day, 1980, and
Wow.
so I thought I would put that up on the little
Looks like a
chunky.
lot of laundry to do that day. Could throw that joke in there.
And it's funny because that day, in the morning, it was freezing cold, and I remember going out for pregame warm-ups. The field was as hard as a parking lot, and then by the end of the game, it was a mud bowl. So yeah, my mother had to do a lot of laundry that day. But pretty funny picture. And this picture I wanted to bring up because, as I mentioned, our sponsor guy Coriano turned 63. So he's a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan. So I dug up a picture of
There it is. Yeah,
there it is.
there
Right.
it is. Yep, that's the connection. Yep, I like that. That's good. That's
And
good.
that's usually the forgotten guy on that front four, which was, L.C. Greenwood, Dwight White, and of course, Hall of Famer Mean Joe Green. But that's Ernie Holmes, who was quite a character. But that's the relevance. That's why I put that picture up.
That was great. That was. I like that. That was good. Good segue. I like
Yeah.
that. All right, we do have some old passings to report. I'll kick it off. Of course, the legend herself, Dolly Parton, the American original icon, known for 9 to 5. Jolene, I Will Always Love You, passed away at the age of 80, born in 1946. I mean, if you want to talk about American legend, I mean, someone everybody loved, it's Dolly Parton. I mean, they even lowered the flags for a whole week. I mean, that's something right there when you get that type of honor. I mean, rest in peace, Dolly, an absolute legend.
Big time, man. Like I said, I have always been a Dolly Parton fan.
Me too.
You want to talk about a success story? I mean, she was one of 12 children living in kind of like a tiny little cabin up in the mountains of Tennessee, and she had this talent, and it was unrecognizable, and she made a career out of it. And the philanthropy and the time she dedicated to causes and libraries and things like that. So, the persona of her, that she was this ditzy kind of a person, silliness, but that's not the case at all. I remember watching a documentary on her years ago, and she really impressed me with
Absolutely.
how smart she really was, and the talent. Of course, she teamed up with Kenny Rogers and had some, Islands in the Stream was a wonderful, wonderful song, and that is a big loss in the music business. And
Well, everybody in America in general.
yeah, I can't find one person that would say she wasn't a nice person.
She was, and everybody loved her. That's all I could say. And there's a reason why even Buckingham Palace, they played her song 9 to 5. There's a reason. That's a legend right there. Tim Curry from the Rocky Horror Picture Show and Home Alone 2 has passed away at the age of 80. He was born in 1946. Now, I remember him, a lot from Home Alone 2 because I watched in New York City, those iconic lines and everything. And he was a legend, though, Tim Curry.
It's kind of funny because I actually saw a little piece on Tim Curry on CBS this morning. Maybe a couple of years ago, he he suffered a stroke like 10 years ago, so he was, almost incapacitated for the last portion of his life. But yes, British actor, made had outstanding films, and of course made his mark on Rocky Horror. But yeah, he was also 80, just like Dolly. Yeah,
Just like Dolly. Peter Cullen, the voice of Optimus Prime in Transformers, and Eeyore in Winnie the Pooh, has passed away at the age of 85.
I saw that too. Yeah, good call.
And the last one I have is Norway's King Harald the 10th, I believe, has passed away at the age of 89.
Yeah, I saw that too. That's right.
I think, yeah, King Harald. Yeah. All right. Anybody else got?
Yeah, I got a couple others. So one of them was from Hollywood, also Shelley Fabre. And what's relevant about her from a sports perspective, because she starred with Craig T. Nelson in the series Coach. Obviously goes way back as a child actor on the Donna Reed show, but also and Andrew had to point this out to me because it slipped my mind. How could it? Because she played Brian Piccolo's wife in the movie Brian Song, which is one of the great sad movies in sports. So she was awesome in that role, and did a lot of Elvis Presley movies and had quite a career. She was a great actress. She was 82 years old. And there was also, I know, Eli, you obviously don't remember the Gong Show, which was kind of this silly.
Yes, that was like a game show. Yeah.
Right, it was a game show. And J.P. Morgan, she was an actress from the 50s and 60s, but she was always on the Gong Show as one of the panelists and so forth. And she was banned for removing her top during one of the shows. But yeah, but she was recognizable in a way. From a comedy perspective, she was 94. By the way.
Wow, incredible!
But the Gong Show was actually a very popular show at the time.
I think they even had a remake on ABC, but I don't think it did too well on the remake.
Right, but the original was hosted by Chuck.
The original
Barris.
was good.
Yeah, Chuck Barris, and he was a producer and so forth.
I mean, nothing beats the originals. I mean, like the match game and everything, and nothing beats the originals.
Absolutely, exactly. And one more from the world of sports, and this was picture Larry Christensen, who was a member of the Philadelphia Phillies 1980 championship team, played his entire career, was a very solid pitcher for the Phillies, and he was 74 years old. But he was, like I said, from a Phillies perspective, he was, a very consistent player and played his entire career.
Wow. Well, we had a great show. We thank everybody for tuning in early morning at 9 o'clock. We'll be back next week at 10 o'clock for our normal show. Until then, be sure to follow us on social media, on Instagram and Facebook, wherever you get the show. We're always also available on Spotify the next day. Be sure to subscribe, like, comment, or send an email to sportsmonomono@gmail.com. And we're back next week at 10 o'clock for another great show.
Yep. And I also want to point out that next week, Eli and I will be doing our NFL preview. We'll go division by division and see who's going to win, who's not going to win, who's on the bubble, who's not. So I always kind of enjoy that segment with you, Eli.
Me too.
And I'm sure we'll get plenty of comments from our loyal listeners about our opinions. But like I said, opinions are just that. They don't mean anything.
That's right. It'll be a great show. And
yeah, it's going to be a great show. So anyway, yes, always send us an email and comments. Thank you for all the recommendations and the support of our show. And we'll be here next week at 10 o'clock. And then we'll keep you posted of whether we have to move a show to a Thursday night or Friday night or whatever.
Whatever the case may be. We'll be in touch. We'll keep everybody posted as always.
But we will be here come hell or high water someday during the week. So.
Someday during the week. It'll be Thursday, Saturday, so we'll figure it out. That's why we have Sports Mono-Mono. Until then, take care, everyone.
Have a great week, and we finally got another beautiful day in New Jersey.
Yes, we do.
Go out and enjoy it. A lot of sports. We'll see you guys next week.